And we are back, guys. The Bluebloods are here with more college football content for your Monday. We're going to start the episode off by talking about the petition started by Justin Fields regarding the 2020 season in the Big Ten. Then we're going to move on to discuss the newest COVID accusations at Florida State, which continues a long line of problems under Mike Norvell since he took the job there, and if these accusations could derail the ACC season. We then have a two-part recruiting update today. So lucky for you guys, we were talking a lot of recruiting. We're going to start out with a breakdown of a huge commitment, Quinn Ewers to Texas. And could he really be the one to bring Texas back? And of course, guys, we're going to wrap it up with a conventional recruiting update. And we head to the Big Ten, and we're going to analyze the Michigan Wolverines 2021 class. We have a full show today, guys, so let's kick it off. So today, Justin Fields took the first big step to try and reverse the polarizing, I guess you could say, decision by the Big Ten to cancel and or postpone the 2020 college football season. Fields advocates for more power for the players, in which players can make their own decision to either opt in or out regarding whether they want to play this fall. And those players who opt out should face no penalties for their decision. Fields also stated that he and other players have full confidence in safety and testing protocols that have been implemented across universities across the country, but particularly in the Big Ten. This petition had over 35,000 signatures in less than an hour. And me and Brandon just looked. It's really almost to 200,000 right now. And it just shows the great amount of support that Fields has on this We Want to Play movement. So, Brandon, do you think there's any possibility the Big Ten can change their decision? And do you think they should?
I don't think that they change. I mean, I guess maybe if this petition that he put out gets to a million vote or a million signatures, then they'd probably have to consider it. But I don't think they're going to back down. I think that's the opposite of the image they're trying to portray at this point. I think they want to show people because, we've talked about it on the show several times. They're wanting to show people that, they're getting ahead of the curve. They're going to be the first conference to cancel football or first. I guess it's the first full conference to cancel. And so, why not double down on that? And while it would be smart, I think, to decide, let's play, because this many people want us to. I don't think that they will. Now, I do like what Justin Fields is doing here, by giving these players the option and a viable option to sit out if they're not comfortable with playing. And I'm sure, Zach, this was your dream come true, because this is pretty much what you've been preaching the whole time. It's let the players who want to sit out, and let the ones who want to play. So I'm sure you've got a lot to say about this, but yeah, I don't think that the Big Ten ends up reversing their decision at this point, unless they just get an insane amount of signatures on this petition.
If we're already at almost 200K, there's a chance it could be at 300 by the end of tonight, and it could make a run at 1 million, man. Do you put it past Justin Fields' reach here? Because other college football players are going to share it, retweet it, all this stuff. So a run at 1 million's really possible by the end of the week. But like you said, I've been vocal on my stance here. I echo everything Fields is standing for. If you don't want to risk it, then just opt out and not play. You get to head to the draft, or you get an extra year of eligibility. And if you want to play, you should have that option. I don't understand why the Big Ten and Pac-12 are getting to decide the fate of thousands of student athletes.
It doesn't seem very fair.
It doesn't sit well with me. And, for me, it's an interesting time for Fields to do this, right? It's been over a week, really, since this announcement's really been at least rumored. So he's had time to do this. Well, I think it's interesting because of two things, Brandon. I don't know if you heard about this. I know some of our listeners might not have. A Michigan cardiologist released a statement in a series of tweets in a paper, a statement that the study that the Big Ten cited as one of its major reasons to cancel the season in terms of the heart condition is actually highly flawed and performed a bunch of wrong stats. So it had all kind of major statistical issues. And the cardiologist was like, I'm not a football fan, really, and it's not my job to determine whether college football should be played, but this paper is so bad that it should never be used to determine public policy or whether we should play football. And, yes, I am in a PhD program and do know a lot of statistics, and I don't want to go deep into
brag, by the way.
Right? And I don't want to go into the stats on the podcast. It's really, really boring, but pretty much the control group in this study was not a control group, and over 1/6 of the controls shows similar heart damage as COVID patients.
Okay.
And so it greatly biased the study, and so this study is getting ripped apart in academic circles, and now the Big Ten just looks dumb for using it to justify them canceling their season. And you keep getting this thing, Brandon. I know you heard it on ESPN, Fox Sports, all this stuff. They're like, how are the medical advisors of these two conferences coming up with such different results than the SEC? Well, I think this offers a little bit of evidence to trust the SEC, ACC, and Big 12 now that we know the Big Ten's basing it off papers that are getting ripped apart, and other scientists are saying this is not good science. This is not good research.
Right. No, I mean, I don't know. That's a very good question. Very good observation there, Zach. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. The problem with me is that there are, several studies in almost every single aspect of life, right? I mean, people study several different things, and there's always different conclusions. So, why would this be any different? But I get what you're saying.
Well, it wasn't the conclusion. Like, he's saying that, yes, COVID could cause heart issues, but the way they ran the stats biased the results of the study so they can make a conclusion that wasn't actually there.
Okay, gotcha.
So they ran incorrect statistical analyses, which led them to the wrong result. And he reran it and showed that it's like less than 1% of the time COVID can cause this heart condition.
Okay. I got you.
Which offers a lot of evidence. And this next development, I know this is probably much more on the low. Brent, I don't know if you saw this. A company called Saliva Direct just had a COVID test approved by the FDA.
Oh, really?
And all it takes is a saliva sample instead of, touching your brain with that Q-tip that is really uncomfortable that you have to ship off to a lab to test. You can test it right on site now. The sample. So it creates this thing where saliva is much easier to get. And the cost of this test, Brandon, is only about $4 per test, which allows colleges to bulk order and stock up on these tests and test student athletes more often, because the current tests are about $100 a piece right now.
Okay, got it.
So a huge price drop there. And the data for this test has shown to be about 88 to 94% accurate, which translates to almost 99% accuracy if you took 2 tests in a day.
Oh, wow.
So that's a huge upgrade from the current testing, which has a lot of false negative, false positive rates. And since the results can be received as soon as a day, that allows colleges to test each day and receive immediate results, which really helps with game week, where you can test players on game day before they go out and compete. And it's funny because all these problems where it was like testing's too stringent, testing's too expensive, we don't have enough tests, they're not super accurate, all these reasons were cited by the Big Ten and Pac-12. And so this could be a significant game changer for college football with this. And I think that's why, for me, the timing of this petition is really interesting, because all these things are pointing toward the Big Ten and Pac-12 made the premature, incorrect decision. As of all the evidence we have now points to that, at least.
Right.
I don't know, man. But to get back to my own question that I asked you, I don't think they're going to reverse their decision regardless, unless something absolutely significant occurs. We're talking about star future NFL talent leaves the conference. Like Ohio State has a mass exodus of like 12, 13 players, and everyone's like, okay, we can't have that.
So,
or go ahead.
what do you mean by that? Do you mean like a mass exodus in the sense that these players go play in a different conference, or they leave for the draft?
No, they go to they go to other schools.
So what would be the difference to you in those two? I mean, say like Justin Fields went to go play in a different conference. I mean, it's not like he's coming back to the Big Ten, and if he goes to the draft, it's not like he's coming back.
Well, if they get whiff of, hey, we're having 15, 20 players per team leave, and these schools are playing in the fall, I think it could push their hand where it's like, okay, this could affect our schools 5, 10 years into the future because now they have to replace that talent. And how do you ever catch up in a reasonable amount of time? I mean, you see a school like Florida State competes for a national title, mass exodus to the NFL. Has Florida State still been competitive? It's been since 2014 since they've been competitive? So it takes a while to rebuild programs that hit rock bottom. If Ohio State loses half their 5 stars and 4 stars, how do they compete when COVID eventually passes and everything gets back to normal?
Right, that makes sense.
And so I don't think the Big Ten wants to take themselves out of national title contention because they don't want to fall into the same track the Pac-12 did after USC got knocked with NCAA violations and they didn't have that heir apparent, and the Pac-12 wasn't competitive for years.
Right.
And also the other thing is schools leaving. They cannot have that happen, Brandon. And there was another report today, even though the Big Ten threatened, there was rumors that they are meeting, thinking about returning, reversing their decision. But apparently Ohio State and Michigan are talking about putting their feet to the fire and saying that if you guys don't make the proper decision and be transparent of why you made this decision, we will go to the Big 12.
Okay, yeah.
And Nebraska's already looking for a way out. Nebraska pretty much told Kevin Warren to suck it.
They've been trying to find a way to get back to the Big 12 since they left.
Exactly. And do I think they should reverse the decision? Yes. But the problem is you've made this decision, right? Does it take all 14 schools voting yes to return?
It shouldn't, but they might make it that way. They might make it like, hey, this needs to be unanimous since we already voted to not play.
Right. And it's like, can you isolate a team? So like, even if it's a team like Maryland, can you just say screw Maryland and make them want to leave maybe?
We're going to play without you.
Yeah, even though they're not competitive in football, Maryland has a good basketball program. They consistently make the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, so does UConn, but they were kicked out of the AAC.
Yeah, but I don't think we can compare Maryland's football team and UConn's football team.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
But for me, Brandon, to wrap this segment up, I think this is going to be a true test on how far we've come in terms of the power of the player. We've seen players change state flags. We've seen players call out coaches and make significant changes within the athletic department. But now can they actually save their season? I think this is going to be a huge telltale sign of how much power do players actually have right now in college football.
Yeah, I mean, I get that.
I don't know, man. I just want football, and even though I'm an SEC fan per se, I would much rather have the Pac-12 and Big Ten play this year.
You're telling me because I mean I'm an SEC fan as well, but guess what? If the Pac-12 and Big Ten don't play, then how am I going to watch? How am I going to watch Ohio State run the ball 3 times in a row, then punt? And do it all at 11 a.m. on a Saturday morning, then stay up late and watch Oregon put 100 on Cal. It's not going to happen if we don't have them.
Or another 49-17 comeback win.
Yeah,
for Washington State.
We're not going to get that. You kidding me?
Pac-12 after dark might be dead, man. It might be dead for 2020. This is why I hate this year. I'm ready for it to be over. But guys, we're going to move on. Sticking with COVID here, man. I feel like I hate covering COVID, but it's like every single college football story has to deal with this. But multiple Florida State players spoke out last week about the university and their COVID testing and protocols. And a mother of one of the players posted a tweet that accused Florida State and head coach Mike Norvell of lying about how often they were testing players during the week and hiding positive tests, telling players to keep quiet. The school has actually declined to comment, but did confirm one positive test, just one, when the players first returned, and cited HIPAA regulations for the lack of information given. So, Brandon, we have seen other schools like Colorado State be accused of this as well. So could the accusations like this derail the 2020 season for the ACC? And what do you make of these accusations at Florida State?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I'm going to stick to my guns here, and I'm going to say what I said with Colorado State. I mean, I hate to be repetitive, but I don't think, I don't think the standard changes from team to team. I think if Florida State's hiding positive tests, I mean, that's obviously a big problem, right? You can't do that. If you're doing that, you're putting the players at risk, not only the player that already has the disease, but other players on the team that may not have contracted it yet, may not have come in contact with this player. You're putting all of their families in risk. You're putting everyone who their families come in contact at risk, and you're putting everyone that they play against at risk, and so on. I mean, that is so ridiculous that I understand you want to play football, and I'm all for playing football. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm like number one, let's play football fan in this country right now. But you have to go by the procedures that are put in place, or else we're not going to have football. Or if we do have football, we're going to have like 2 games, see numbers spike, and then not have football until next year at the earliest. Because let's face it, and we'll probably have a segment about this in the near future, spring football is not going to be a reality. I don't know. It's ridiculous. If this is true, then let's. I don't know what we should do. We maybe throw Mike Norvell to the wolves.
Man, we're gonna have to if he don't get his act together, man. This is probably, okay, like, yes, this is serious accusations. I'll get to that. But this might be an even worse look that it's Florida State. Right. I mean, they already had a huge issue in the spring in which multiple key players boycotted practices already. And in case you guys weren't listening or didn't hear about that story, Marvin Wilson, potential first-round NFL draft pick, claimed that Norvell lied about texting with each individual player about racial injustices faced by African Americans. And a bunch of players boycotted. And now we have multiple players saying that the university is hiding COVID cases, lying to players, and not testing weekly. I want to say this, Brad. I was real high on Mike Norvell. I like what he did in Memphis, but he just seems to be in over his head here. And the fact that he's lost this team and it just seems to be lost in general this quick. It's not even been a year, Brandon. They haven't even played a single game, and he's already having repeated accusations, repeated scandals. I mean, how do we expect him to recruit and build this program back up to where Bobby Bowden and Jimbo Fisher had it if he doesn't even have the support of his current players?
Yeah, we absolutely can't expect that. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. To me, it seems like there's one thing after another with Mike Norvell at this point, and could this possibly be the worst start to a college football coach's career?
I thought Mike Leach was right there at the worst, but at least
I think you meant Mike Lynch.
No kidding, man. I mean, good Lord, but. Yeah, at least he apologized. He understood what he did wrong and all this kind of stuff. And Mike Norvell just keeps kicking the can down the road, man. It's just, listen, Memphis isn't in the national spotlight, so little things like this probably were overlooked. They were passed over. No one's looking their way. But, dude, it's Florida State. This program's always in the national spotlight due to their prominence in the national landscape of college football. And right. I don't believe we've covered them in our recruiting segment yet. And you want to know why? Because they are going to have an absolute brutal cycle this year because other coaches are probably eating this up. And without the ability for this first year staff to go out and make those face-to-face personal relationships, Florida State is at a serious disadvantage, and Norval is just digging his grave right here.
Right. No, I mean, it's so bad.
I don't understand it, man. I mean, listen, and situations like this are just fuel for critics who already don't think college football should be played this fall. This season relies on players, critics, analysts, families, fans, all trusting that schools are truthful and taking this seriously. But another story that brings us doubt into people's heads, because this is a national program. This isn't Colorado State. No one really probably cared about Colorado State. Now everyone's like, we can get rid of Colorado State. We don't need them. But this is Florida State and the ACC. This is one of the last 3 Power 5 conferences to hang on to football for us. And we have probably the second or third biggest school in the conference not following the rules. And I've roasted the Big Ten and Pac-12 earlier, but they can point to this, and that's going to sway public opinion their way, saying, can we really trust these universities to take care of the players? And that's exactly what every pundit who doesn't want college football is going to say.
Yeah, it's just fuel.
And, this really pissed me off. Listen, the fact that Florida State is avoiding the media is very troublesome for me. Colorado State jumped directly on this. The president came out and said, we are launching an investigation on the athletic department. This is not going to fly. Has anyone heard anything from Florida State's president? Their AD? No. Mike Norval? Anybody? I'm going to launch a missing persons report right now for anybody at Florida State's administration that has any power on this, because, listen, citing HIPAA violations is not going to make this go away.
Right.
And, that is so bad. And, listen, Florida State has to investigate this, because if this is true, Norval and this staff and just the entire athletic department need to be held accountable. They need to make an example out of these guys. And I know some Florida State fans, I know fans down in Tallahassee are getting real anxious here about the potential of Mike Norval's tenure. But Brandon, what would be a proper punishment? Fines, suspensions? If he wasn't a first-year head coach, could we talk about maybe being fired?
I don't know why we can't talk about being fired, even though he is a first. I'm not saying, hey, fire him over these allegations. I'm saying if it's investigated, it's found to be true that there were players that tested positive, and he said, hey, do not tell anyone. You don't have it. Don't tell anyone. Then, yeah, why shouldn't he be fired?
I think he could have been. I mean, I think he could be, depending on how serious the allegations are. We still don't know much. And the longer Florida State stays silent, the less comfortable I really feel with this.
Right.
Brandon, I want to say this before we wrap this segment up. Jimbo Fisher and Willie Taggart get a lot of blame for the culture and the state of the program down there in Tallahassee. But for me, it's looking more and more like a systemic issue within the entire athletic department for me.
Yeah.
Florida State hasn't been relevant since Jameis Winston, and even with Jameis Winston and before him, the program's always seems to find itself in controversy. They really somehow, whether it be Jameis Winston jumping on the table and yelling racial slurs, or stealing crab legs, or the dangerous, or running around campus shooting people with paintball guns. You could just go down the list, and that was a long Jameis Winston list, but you could point to other situations as well. But this report rubs me the wrong way. So, like, the difference. So, I know some people who listen to all our episodes are like, well, you defended Colorado State really hard. Well, there were a lot of players who came out and said, no, man, this is the proof that this didn't happen. This is why this player's speaking up. Yeah, and like all this stuff. I haven't heard a single peep out of anybody outside of Florida State going against this.
Right.
Not a player, not a coach, not an athletic official, nothing. And, I hate this report, but I feel like Brandon, there's a deeper issue at play, and I really think it's a ticking time bomb down there in Tallahassee. And I think there's going to be, if they investigate this athletic department closely with a fine-tooth comb, if the NCAA gets involved, if whoever gets involved, I think we're going to see some really troubling things come to light that could stretch all the way back to the end of Bobby Bowden's reign at Florida State.
No, you're absolutely right. It's going to be bad if these accusations are true. Like, I mean, I don't even know the correct words to use because it's going to be that bad.
And it's I don't understand, man. I mean, Mike Norval's career was on a trajectory that only a few coaches have ever found themselves on. And it seems like he's giving it all the way, man. And I don't know what it is about Florida State, but it seems to like it. A big red flag was when Jimbo Fisher, coming off of competing for national championships, had that program at the top of the mountain, said, I'd rather go to Texas A&M where they've hardly ever won and go there rather than stay at Florida State. This program I built back up. That should have been a giant, giant red flag. And I know Texas A&M threw a lot of money at them, but a lot of people have thrown a lot of money at Nick Saban, and he hasn't left because Texas threw more money at Saban than got thrown at Jimbo Fisher, and he didn't leave. Right. And so I'm worried about Florida State, man. I think that program could be in some serious, serious danger here in the coming months to years.
No, it's gonna get messy, I think. I mean, it's gonna get a lot worse before it gets better.
Oh, man. But, guys, we're going to go ahead here, move on to some more positive stuff. We had a 2-part recruiting, I guess, update type thing here. And, listen, we usually don't cover players' commitments, but when a player like this commits, it deserves its own segment. And late last week, Tom Herman and the Texas Longhorns picked up the biggest commitment in program history since Vince Young. And that's a big statement. But let me, Brandon, explain. This is when Quinn Ewers, the number 1 recruit in the 2022 class, committed to the Longhorns. And this kid's a quarterback out of Southlake, Texas, Brandon, boasts a 100 composite grade from 247, and is the number 1 player in the entire country, guys. He also considered Oklahoma and Ohio State, but said that he knew Texas was the best choice to him in the back of his head due to him growing up a Longhorns fan. Brandon, this kid is being considered a better or equal prospect to Trevor Lawrence. So your take on this kid, and could he be the one to finally bring the Longhorns back to national relevance?
I want to say 2 things. First thing is horns down. Second thing is, are we sure that's how his name's pronounced, Zach? I know you've been getting some flack on this.
Listen, not a single clue, but we're going with it.
I think it's Ewers.
Okay, let's go with Ewers. I'm cool with that. That's way easier.
Ewers. It sounds like you're trying to say errors, but you have like a speech impediment.
Hey, it's all good, bro. We'll go with Ewers here.
Okay, so yeah, Quinn Ewers, kid's got a sick mullet. Go look at his 247 profile.
Oh, it's fire. That is absolutely fire. He looks like a kid off the Squidbillies, bro.
You can really tell that he's from Texas. He's doubling down on that Southlake, Texas look. And this isn't even like one of those trendy things. I understand, like, I don't know a lot about about the TikTok generation, but what I do know is that some of these kids got some mullets on them. This kid just grew up in the sticks, and that's why he's got his mullet.
Didn't you have a mullet like less than 6 months ago?
Let's not talk about that. That was a goof.
Wait, hang on. Guys, go watch our NFL live stream on our YouTube channel. You can see B-Dub's mullet.
Yeah, the mullet was sick. I won't deny it. It was my COVID mullet, but nah. And I like that we just like keep talking about these players that are younger and younger. Because this kid, well, he's like 16. He's about to be a junior in high school.
Yeah. Yes.
It's getting a little ridiculous, Zach. But no, I mean, I get it. You know, he's obviously hyped up a lot. Obviously, he's had like 1 or 2 seasons to really show people, you know, his true talent.
He's only played 1 because as a freshman, of course, in Texas, a freshman is not getting play time at quarterback, especially in a district in Fort Worth, that has how many kids come out of Fort Worth each year?
That's true. And okay, so I guess the reason why he's rated so highly at the moment is because I'll admit it, kid passed for over 4,000 yards, 45 touchdowns, and only 3 interceptions. So that's
dude, as a sophomore, bro. And he had 9 rushing touchdowns too with a mullet. Yeah. You can't let a white kid with a mullet run for 9 touchdowns on you.
Yeah, that's rude. I'll be honest. You can't let him do you like that. But yeah, I mean, he's 6'3", 195 pounds. By the time this kid graduates, because he's a sophomore, he could grow more. He's definitely gonna put some more weight on. This kid's gonna be nasty. His pro comparison is Phillip Rivers,
future Hall of Famer, probably.
Yeah, which I don't know if I've ever seen one of these 247 comparisons where the kids where they compare the kid to, like Zach said, a potential future Hall of Famer. You never go on 247 and see oh yeah, this kid's a real Drew Brees. He's a real Peyton Manning. You never see that. It's always just like some obscure NFL player. Not this kid. This kid's Phillip Rivers. So if that tells you anything. So yeah, I mean, fantastic land for Texas. A lot can change in 2 years, though. So not to be like a downer to any Texas fans out there, I'll say it again, horns down, but a lot can change. How many times do we see these really early commitments like this, and then you just see the kid flip, maybe not even a year into it?
You see it a lot, man, but this kid's a hometown kid. He grew up diehard Texas fan. I think he's sticking. I really do. I understand kids decommit all the time, especially today. I think this kid's in it for the long run. I really do. Unless Tom Herman or that program just gets dismantled, this kid's going to be a Texas Longhorn in the future. I really do believe that.
Yeah. No, I mean,
what broke my heart, though? I know I said it came down to Ohio State and Oklahoma, too. It broke my heart to pull up this kid's 247 profile and see Auburn as the 3rd team that offered him. I threw up a little in my mouth. I was upset.
That's just not true, Zach. That's just not true. Because North Texas was the first team to offer him in 2016.
Okay, hey, I'm talking about. No, my bad. Not the 3rd team, but it was the 3rd team listed on on his page. It goes I think it was Texas. I don't remember the other one, but Auburn was up there. It was 3rd, and I was like, I didn't even know Auburn was in the running for this kid.
Yeah, man, that's heartbreaking. It's a little more heartbreaking if you're that second team, though. I don't know who the second. Alabama, yeah,
Alabama.
That hurts. That hurts.
Hey, how was Arizona State up there? Did Arizona State really have a shot at the #1 recruit in the country?
Herm Edwards, man, that's a character.
Hey, listen, if this kid's going to the Pac-12, he might throw for 12,000 yards in a year. Holy crap!
Good point.
Oh man, but listen, guys. We'll actually break down this kid for you guys, man. It's just, I know when I mentioned Trevor Lawrence, everybody just tuned us out, discredited both of us immediately. But I promise you, if I don't have any, credit with you guys, or you guys don't trust me at all, you can trust me when it comes to recruiting just a little bit. And one look at this kid's film tells you he's the real deal. And they said that if he reclassified to this year, which recruits can do in high school football now, if he graduated early or something, he can reclassify. This kid would be the #1 player in this year's class, they said.
That's nuts. That's so crazy.
He was the Max Prep National Sophomore of the Year last year. He was a District 5-6A MVP. He was the Fort Worth Star Telegram Male Athlete of the Year. He beat out NFL players.
Very prestigious award, by the way.
How do you beat out Cowboy players for Player of the Year as a sophomore in high school?
Yeah, I guess.
That doesn't even make sense. And like Brandon said, he highlighted his passing yards, interceptions, all this. This kid completed 72% of his passes as a sophomore in the most competitive district in the country, arguably.
Right. You know what's really crazy, Zach, is that Texas is in 2022 ranked the 7th highest recruiting class. They have 2 commits.
Yeah, because this kid has a 100. He has a perfect rating on the 247 composite. That doesn't even make sense. I don't even think Trevor Lawrence was 100.
No, that's wild.
And he led his team 13-1 record. He went to the quarterfinals of the Texas playoffs. Listen, the quarterfinals in the Fort Worth, Dallas area in playoffs. Excellent, guys. That's an amazing run for a sophomore quarterback. And like Brandon said, he has room to grow. But listen, one look at his film, just go look at it. His biggest positive for me, Brandon, his accuracy over the middle of the field in middle to deep throws, which is a ability coaches can't really teach. And we heard Cole Kublik come off the podcast and say that's the exact thing that makes Trevor Lawrence so much better than Justin Fields and Trey Lance, is that he can make those deep throws over the middle and his coaches trust him to do it. This kid's 16 and making the perfect throws over the middle, beating coverage, and all these secondary players are going on to play D1 football.
Right. No, it's crazy.
I know you watched this film. I know you've done your research on him too. I don't see a true weakness. Can you look at one thing and say, yeah, he needs to really, really improve there to be a factor?
No. I wish I could. I want to hate this kid so bad, and I can't.
Brandon, okay, this is going to be a true test here. I need you to be 100% unbiased here, okay?
Okay.
If I gave you 2 buttons and you get to hit one or the other, and you got to have this kid as LSU's starting quarterback next year or Miles Brennan, who you taking?
Don't do this to me, Zach. I know you want
to. You know who you're taking.
This hurts. This is like, imagine if I asked you if you would rather have Bo Nix or I'm blanking right now on Jamie Newman. Who would you rather have next year?
Okay, you don't want the actual answer to that because that's going to be a whole nother segment of why Jamie Newman's so overrated. I'm taking Bo Nix.
Okay, well, I'm gonna take.
Okay,
Quinn
you can switch it.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, you'll take Ewers. I'll tell you this. I would take JT Daniels over Bo Nix. How about that? Would that make you feel better?
Makes me feel a little better.
And listen, and I would take this kid over Jamie Newman or Bo Nix, and maybe even JT Daniels. I mean, listen. Like you said, 247 does compare him to Phillip Rivers, which is an outrageous comparison. It's like taking a 6-year-old kid and be like, "Yeah, he's gonna be Tom Brady." It's like what? But this is gonna sound outrageous. This kid does look almost identical. Like if you took a person who didn't watch college football and put his film and Trevor Lawrence's high school film together, if outside of the height, you wouldn't be able to tell them apart.
Right. Well,
this kid's not 6. Yeah. No, Trevor Lawrence got the flow though. In that helmet, it just looks like the flow. So you might not, but he's not 6'5" like Trevor Lawrence. But like you said, he can grow, and he's shown ability that even Trevor Lawrence didn't in high school. And just listen. Texas has always claimed to be back year after year. Brandon says horns is down. We know it's not true, but listen, this kid is a type of player that, listen, right now he's probably going to turn 17 in the middle of the season. I don't know when this kid's birthday is. If he was to start a quarterback for Texas next year, Texas would have a serious shot at the Big 12 title.
Yeah, they would.
And that's with a 17-year-old kid, man. That doesn't even – I know that sounds like you don't have no idea what you're talking about. I promise you that kid's this good. You could have taken Trevor Lawrence his sophomore year of high school, and he would have made Clemson a better team. Well, maybe not. They had Deshaun Watson at that time, but take Deshaun Watson out, put Trevor Lawrence in, they would have been a really good team. For me, Brandon, generational talent. He's going to be a Heisman contender, And I would put whatever amount of money you wanted that even if he doesn't win it, he's going to be in New York City before he heads off to the NFL.
Fair. Okay.
And he's the future of the quarterback position. And listen, I don't love Texas. I'm not as anti-Texas as Brandon is, but I'm going to watch a lot of Texas games when this kid gets there, man. I am so excited to see what he can do down there in Austin. And Brandon, you are so lucky LSU does not, I hope they reschedule that LSU-Texas game for when he takes over the starting quarterback job. That would be, I want to see, and I hope, I know it's not going to happen. I wish Derek Stingley would stay for his senior year so we could see this kid versus Derek Stingley.
Yeah, well, that was just rude. I'll go ahead and say it.
Hey, I don't know. Derek Stingley is a monster, bro. I don't know. I don't have any, you could put Derek Stingley right now in the NFL and I think he's a starting quarterback.
It's fair. I agree. But of course I agree.
I'm going to say, if you didn't agree, I feel like there's some I know one particular LSU fan that listens to our podcast that would absolutely disown you immediately if you said Derek Stingley went the best corner. Oh, yeah, man. No. But, guys, this kid is the absolute real deal, man. I'm excited to see him. But, like Brandon said, it's real hard, man. This kid's only 16. A lot can happen. But I don't even know if he can improve on his stats, Brandon. That's the scary part. I mean, how do you go up from over 4,000 yards, 45 touchdowns to 3 interceptions?
You don't. It does not go up from there.
If he throws for 5,050 touchdowns next year and under 5 interceptions, I'm going to lose it.
Right.
I don't even know. Man, this is too much, man. I'm excited about this kid, guys. We do a lot of recruiting segments, but this kid's something. But we're going to go ahead, wrap this up. You already know. It's the normal recruiting segment where we don't compare a 16-year-old kid to Phillip Rivers, but we do hype up a lot of recruits in this segment. But listen, check out our most recent episodes for recruiting updates all around the country. Guys, we're heading to the Big Ten to analyze the most overrated coach in the country, Jim Harbaugh and the Michigan Wolverines 2021 class. And they're trying to follow up a top 15 class last season. Harbaugh's looking to find a way to finally beat Ohio State. Probably not going to happen, but we'll see. And, Brandon, this is probably the most outrageous stat I've given in one of these recruiting updates. 10 top 300 recruits headline this class. And the Wolverines don't have a lot of spots left, but they still are in contention for some elite prospects here. Brandon, your take on this class, and are you impressed with what Harbaugh's done right now?
I really like this class. They're ranked 10 in the nation, second in the Big Ten, obviously behind Ohio State. But I mean, I always really like Michigan's recruiting classes. They always look good. This isn't like a surprise. Last year they were ranked 14th overall. I mean, they're pretty consistently in the top 20 as far as recruiting goes. So I'm pretty much always impressed by it. Now it's once they get to Michigan that you see that brick wall or whatever you want to call it. And I don't know if it's coaching or what, but they can't beat Ohio State.
It's coaching. Yeah. It's coaching.
It's coaching. Yeah, in that case, Jim Harbaugh. But that's another discussion.
I'm about to say, check out any of, what are we at, episode 108? Check out our other 57 episodes about where I go on rants about Jim Harbaugh.
Yeah. One thing I will say about Michigan, and I've already said I'm impressed with this class. They really do. They're trying to set a record for most states recruited, I think.
I am so glad you said something. Holy crap, man!
I have to mention the geographical aspect of every single recruiting class that we touch on. But I mean, they are all over the map. I mean, they're Midwest, they're on the East Coast, they're West Coast, down south. I mean, they're everywhere. And which is good, if you're Michigan, but you got to do something with that talent. You can't just get the talent and not do anything with it.
I mean, he has 21 commits, Brandon, from 10 different states.
Right. It's crazy.
Who gets recruits from Maine? I didn't even know they had high school football in Maine.
I didn't realize he had a recruit in Maine. I don't think he did. I think you're lying.
I don't know. It might not have been Maine. I don't know. What's Maine's abbreviation for states?
M-E?
Do you know?
It's M-E.
Yeah, no, that's definitely Massachusetts then.
It's Massachusetts. Oh, man.
Hey, that's tough.
That was a pretty big.
That's tough, bro. Dog, I'm about to get my PhD, and I don't even know the abbreviation for states names.
He's about to be Dr. Zach
real
Young,
tough.
by the way.
I'm about to say Dr. Zach, who doesn't know that Massachusetts is a state, apparently. But man, okay. But as much as you talk about his national reach, don't you have a similar critique for his class than we did South Carolina?
And with
that his ability not to land the most elite in-state recruits. So,
I think that was your critique, but yeah, I understand that.
I mean, you talked about South Carolina with that a little bit. I mean, yes, okay, so they do have to compete with Michigan State, but Brandon, Michigan State has one commit in the top 15, and it's the 15th ranked commit in the state of Michigan. And Bama has the number 1 player. The number 2 player is uncommitted. Number 3 player is committed to Notre Dame, and the number 5 player is committed to LSU.
Hey, listen, would you rather go to Michigan or any of those other schools?
I don't know, bro. Coach O, I might have to skip Auburn to go play for Coach O, man. That's a legend. But this had, like, as much as they have a national reach, this has to be a little bit concerning because everyone praises Harbaugh for his recruiting, but you can't keep the SEC out of Michigan?
Right.
Listen, Michigan State's decent. There is never a year Michigan should not land the number 1 recruit in their state.
Yeah, that's true.
And you're going to let Alabama, who just spanked you with a backup quarterback in the, the Outback? No, not the Outback Bowl, the Citrus Bowl, take your number 1 recruit right out of your back pocket. Man,
yeah, no, I mean, they did
the
same thing with Mark Ingram. He's from Michigan, right?
Yeah, he is. But Michigan at that time was real trash. Let's put that out there. I think Harbaugh was still in the NFL at that point, or he was at Stanford. It bothers me, man, because Michigan's an elite program, and you can't keep you have one top 5 person in the state committed, and you got LSU, Notre Dame, Bama coming to pick apart your state. You cannot let that happen. That really, really bothers me. I mean, but Brandon, let's go ahead, get into some of these recruits. We'll start with the top-ranked recruit. I mean, he's pretty good, I would say. I mean, but I want to say Michigan always seems to be 1 quarterback away. Shea Patterson was supposed to put it over the top. Brandon could tell you, he could have told you that wasn't the case. He greatly underperformed. So Harbaugh is going to try to fix this with J.J. McCarthy. He's the 17th ranked recruit in the country. Number 2 pro-style quarterback out of IMG Academy down in Florida. And Brandon, how do you feel about this kid?
Well, they haven't had the best track record with IMG quarterbacks. Shea Patterson was an IMG quarterback.
I was about to say.
So, I don't know.
Oh, gosh.
I wish I could say he's going to be the future, but I just have no idea because shout out Shea Patterson, by the way. He came on the podcast. I feel bad clowning him, but no, I mean, we all watched him play. He wasn't the greatest quarterback that entered the draft this season. No, I mean, this kid's definitely talented. I mean, he's not like the fastest quarterback by any means. He runs, I think, like a 4.89, so basically a 4.9. I mean, he's not super slow. I mean, he's not like Tom Brady slow, but he's not gonna burn a linebacker. You know, he's not going to be a scrambling quarterback. But what he can do with his arm is very impressive. I mean, I don't want to compare him to Ewers by any means because they are just, I mean, it's night and day. I understand J.J. McCarthy, he is a 5-star recruit. That's great. But, they're not the same. I think he's a little undersized to be a quarterback. So, I mean, while he did impress me with his film, he's playing Illinois. Or I'm sorry, he's from Illinois. He's playing IMG Academy. I don't really know who IMG Academy plays in football, but I don't want to discredit him. I'm putting that out there. I don't know who they play. So I don't know if
think
this is
I think they play national opponents and they also play like within the state of Florida. Like I think they play like St. Thomas Aquinas and stuff like that.
okay. So I mean, they've got a decent schedule, but what I'm getting at is he's 6'2", 180. You know, he's not huge for a quarterback. I'd like to see him put on a little bit more weight. You know, 6'2" is pretty sizable. I'm not saying he's going to be the tallest quarterback in the league by any means, but you know, he's not 5'8" like Kyler Murray. So he might be able to make it happen. But yeah, I mean, I was impressed by his film. You know, I think he's going to be a good Power 5 quarterback. You know, I'm not going to say, hey, he's the next player in the draft, but I do think that he'll be a very good quarterback, you know, depending on the coaching he receives once he gets to Michigan.
Right. I mean, I kind of agree with you. I mean, I think he has got superb arm talent. He's really good as a quarterback. And for me, Brandon, he reminds me of a smaller Sam Darnold out of USC. Got a way smaller frame. He definitely weighs way less. I mean, Sam Darnold can push 230 sometimes. But for me, his strength is his accuracy at all levels of the field, which limits the defense's options to stop him. He can hit those underneath routes, those mid-level over the middle routes, and he can hit the deep routes. And this is possible in and or out of the pocket for McCarthy. His weakness, like you said, other than his size, like you said, is his mobility. I mean, he's limited, but he can escape the pocket and throw downfield, which is a positive. But like you said, he's not burning anybody. If that defensive end gets a good run at him, he's going down.
Which is weird because, I mean, usually with these smaller quarterbacks, you see like a little bit more quickness.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a huge disadvantage for him. And the thing that worries me about this kid is his regression. For me, high school players should always be looked at how did they develop from sophomore to junior to senior year, and it should always be going up. His sophomore year, McCarthy put up over 3,400 yards passing, 39 touchdowns with only 4 interceptions. Last season, he only had 2,800 yards, only 34 touchdowns, and he doubled his interceptions to 8.
Right.
And the thing that worries me is he had 75 more attempts last season, but only had 7 more completions. So his accuracy really took a hit. And for me to consider him a 5-star elite prospect, I need to see him take that next step this upcoming year. I need to see him develop. And if he doesn't, I'm real skeptical about his potential at the next level. I mean, could he turn into the next Shea Patterson, who was highly, highly touted out of high school and never seemed to really put it together? And you see kids like that all the time. And I think we've covered quarterbacks who are ranked below him that are better than him. But like you said, depending on his coaching and development, this kid does have the possibility to be elite. But I need to see more his senior year for me to really have faith in him.
Right, absolutely.
And I mean, I got two, I have an underrated prospect coming, but I feel like this kid, he's too highly rated to be an underrated prospect, but I feel like we had to talk about him, man. And I love this kid. I love his film. I love what he brings to the table. And that's Junior Colson out of Brentwood, Tennessee. He's a 115th overall player, the number 8 outside linebacker. And Brandon, I mean this when I say it. This kid has the potential to be a future Buckus Award winner.
Okay.
It may sound crazy, but that's how elite I think Colson can be. And like I said, with McCarthy up in front of him, high school prospects is how do they progress and develop? Well, Colson did the complete opposite. His sophomore year, Brandon, only 34 tackles, 6 for loss, and only 2 sacks. Last year as a junior, 123 tackles, 19.5 for loss, 11.5 sacks, 2 interceptions, and 2 forced fumbles. How is that for elite production and an absolute jump in production from sophomore to junior year?
I mean, it's incredible. I mean, it's night and day.
I mean, he almost had 100 more tackles. That doesn't sound real. And for a linebacker, Brandon, he ran an unofficial 4.7 in the 40. But on the film, man, I need you to back me up here. I'm trying to explain this appropriately. It's hard to over an audio thing, but there's a difference between a time 40 and the speed you play at.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think there's players who time, like Jerry Jeudy. He ran like a 4.6 or something like that. Jerry Jeudy plays at like a 4.4 on the field. This kid plays with 4.5 speed. He shows an outstanding ability to stuff the run. He has the ability to drop back into pass coverage, and he's a demon off the edge in those blitz packages. He has the ability to play both linebacker spots, inside or outside. He can step down into buck, and he even offers his greatest asset, according to a lot of scouts, is he covers like a safety, which makes him one of the most versatile defenders we've covered. And I think someone like Jim Harbaugh is going to love to plug him into that really good Michigan defense. And my comparison to him, this wasn't his 247 comparison. I made my own up here just based off his film. I really compare him to Devin Bush, former Michigan linebacker, now turned Pittsburgh Steeler, who's done really well in the NFL. And I think he's Devin Bush if Devin Bush was appropriately sized to be a linebacker. Bush is under 6 foot. He's not very big, but Colston has that prototypical linebacker size. And I think he shows all the athleticism Bush does. And I think that can make him real dangerous. I think he's going to be the next great linebacker out of Michigan. And I think he's going to be an early round pick and have a long career on Sundays in the NFL.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. He's very, very talented. And I kind of ran across the same sort of issue as you did, where I couldn't mention him as my underrated player, but he's definitely, he's incredible.
He's a monster, man. So do you want to take underrated first, or do you want me to go first, man? I hope we don't have the same one. Okay, go ahead.
You're so afraid we're going to have the same one. My underrated player is the 3-star punter, Tommy Doman. No, it's really not, but it did surprise me. They have a 3-star punter.
Hey, you know how good you have to be a 3-star punter?
I didn't know that punters could get 3 stars.
What's he rank in positional rankings?
I didn't happen to. Let me see. He's the number 2 punter in the country. Okay. How wild is that? He's the 54th best player in Michigan. That's wild.
That's pretty good for a punter, bro.
That's really good for a punter. Wow. Okay. No, but my real underrated player is Hall of Famer Marcus Allen. It is Marcus Allen. He's a wide receiver out of Ohio. This kid really just his film blew me away. Whenever I'm doing these, I just kind of skim through each player. I try to look at players that are ranked in the 500s or lower, and then I skim through their film and I try to choose one accordingly. And this guy just caught my eye, from the first play. Really, I think he's 547 in the country, but he's number 20 coming out of Ohio. He's a 3-star wide receiver. What really got me though is his playmaking ability. He's 6'2", 190. So he's pretty big for a wide receiver. 6'2" is pretty average size. 190 as a junior in high school is pretty big for a wide receiver. I can see him putting a little bit more weight on, maybe being able to, just bully these cornerbacks like it looks like he's doing on the film. And not only that, he's big, but he's so quick. Like Zach just talked about game speed for this last player. This kid's game speed is incredible. Like he just blows defenders off the ball. And once he's gone, he's gone. He catches everything thrown his way. And just that being able to do both of those things for me, that had to win him my underrated player.
It's funny because he was my number 2. I almost picked him at first. I came across him first and I was like, man, I don't know if I can find anyone better. And then I went through and I found someone better in my opinion, but this kid's really good. And I do agree with you that I think his game speed is much faster than like you would predict. And I do think that he could have a serious role early at Michigan when he gets to Ann Arbor. So I do like that pick a lot. And listen, I think my player is not going to be underrated for much longer. I think he's going to finish in the top 300, maybe 4 by the time it's all said and done. But I'm talking about Jaden McBurrows out of St. Thomas Aquinas down in Florida. He's the 620th overall player, the 47th ranked cornerback in the country, Brandon. And listen, he for a top For a not top 600 player, this kid had offers from Michigan, Alabama, Florida State. And it said he boasted over 25 offers from D1 programs. And the reason is he transferred to St. Aquinas. He's a late bloomer, and he might have more potential than any of our underrated prospects so far because he just didn't get discovered early enough to really be highly ranked, which is why I expect a huge jump when they re-rank prospects. He has pretty good size, Brandon. As a corner, 5'10" is okay. I think he needs more weight. He's only about 165, 170 now, but I think he could hold up to 185 of muscle if he grows. He has a good frame on him. And with training at a major university, you see that 5, 10, 15-pound weight gain for a lot of these guys of pure muscle. Brandon, his major positive is speed. He has elite speed and could hang with any wide receiver he goes up against. He ran an 11.01 100-meter dash, which converts to about a 4.540.
Yeah, that's nuts.
That's outrageous speed. And his only negative I found is I would like to see a bit more physicality, but it's not going to be a huge deterrent for these programs or a huge hinder on his career because his ball skills and athleticism make up for everything. I mean, hell, Deion Sanders wasn't very physical, but he ended up still being probably the best DB in the history of football in general. So not super worried about that. But his first season at St. Thomas Aquinas, he put up 37 tackles. He broke up 15 passes, Brandon, 1 forced fumble, 6 interceptions, and also had 4 blocked punts. He was an integral part of an undefeated state title winning team down there in Florida. And on film, I saw minimal. He took 3 to 4 interceptions back for touchdowns.
Right.
And we've already seen he can contribute on punt block, but he has the speed to be a kick or punt returner if that's what Michigan wanted to turn him into. For me, I think McBurrows is going to step in day one and could start day one in Harbaugh's defense. And I think he could be a huge piece in Michigan eventually getting that elusive Big Ten championship that they've been hunting for years.
Right. No, for sure. It's funny that you said that. It's funny that you said that Allen was your second highest ranked underrated recruit on this list because I just finished watching McBurrow's film as soon as we started recording, and I was choosing between the two of them at the very start of this segment.
Oh man, I'm telling you, man, that film's elite, isn't it? That kid breaks on the ball quicker than just about anyone I've watched film. And we had that kid out there at USC, I believe, that also was like that. But this McBurrows kid, I think he could be an elite corner, man. I think he has the potential to be a lockdown, shut down an entire side of the field corner.
Right. Absolutely.
I like him, man. But guys, that is a wrap on this episode. We got another over hour of content from the Blue Bloods here to get you through that horrible Monday, man. And I know we got some college students listening. Classes are starting, or at least it is up here. I know a bunch of schools down south are starting, man. Get you through that first day of classes here with the Blue Bloods. We're praying for college football just like you. So wear your damn mask so we can have some college football here and the Blue Bloods can keep this thing rolling, man. We appreciate all y'all support. You know where to find us on social media, guys. Instagram at @the_Bluebloods, Twitter at @the_Bluebloods, Facebook at the Blue Bloods Pod, YouTube, the Blue Bloods CFB Podcast, thebluebloodspod.com. We got links everywhere. We got videos on there, articles. Go check it all out, man. Tell all your friends. Listen, in your class, just say you got an important announcement. Tell all your classmates to go listen to the Blue Bloods. And listen, man, we appreciate all y'all again. But for right now, we out.